One of these fighters went 50 fights without a single loss. One became heavyweight champion of the world at 20 years old. One refused to go to war and lost his title, his license, and millions of dollars because of it. And one is considered by historians to be the greatest pound-for-pound fighter who ever lived, and most casual fans have never heard his name. These are the 10 boxing legends who didn't just fight, they defined what the sport means to the world. Let's get into it. Sugar Ray Robinson is the fighter every other fighter on this list learned from, widely considered by boxing historians as the greatest pound-for-pound boxer who ever lived. He turned professional in 1940 and didn't lose his first fight until 1943 after going 128 consecutive wins. His combination of hand speed, footwork, punching power, and defensive intelligence was so far ahead of his era that watching old footage today, it still looks modern. Welterweight champion, middleweight champion. Both. He is the original. Every fighter who came after him, Ali, Leonard, De La Hoya, Mayweather, was in some way trying to replicate what Sugar Ray Robinson did first. Joe Frazier's legacy is permanently intertwined with Muhammad Ali's, and that's actually a disservice to how extraordinary he was in his own right. 1964 Olympic gold medalist, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. His left hook, one of the most devastating single weapons in boxing history. He walked forward relentlessly, took punishment without flinching, and kept coming until he put you on the canvas. His 3 fights with Ali are the greatest trilogy in boxing history. He won the first one, pushed Ali to the absolute limit in all 3. The Thrilla in Manila in 1975 is still described as the most brutal sporting event people ever witnessed. Frazier deserved better from history than being remembered primarily as Ali's rival. He was a champion and a warrior in his own right. Oscar De La Hoya was the face of boxing for an entire decade, and he earned every bit of it. 1992 Olympic gold medal. 6-division world champion, a record at the time. Technical skill, power, charisma, crossover appeal that brought audiences to boxing who had never paid attention before. His fights sold out arenas, generated pay-per-view numbers that redefined what boxing events could earn. But De La Hoya's legacy extends beyond the ring. He founded Golden Boy Promotions, becoming one of the most powerful figures in the sport, creating opportunities for a generation of fighters who came after him. 6 divisions, an Olympic gold, a promotional empire. That's a complete career by any measure. Manny Pacquiao did something no other boxer in history has done. World titles in 8 different weight divisions. 8. From light flyweight to junior middleweight, spanning nearly a 100-pound difference in weight class. That accomplishment alone puts him in a category of one. What made Pacquiao special was his style, coming forward in straight lines with a southpaw stance, throwing combinations with a speed and ferocity that looked almost chaotic. Until you realized every punch was intentional. He knocked out fighters who had never been knocked out before. His fight with Mayweather in 2015 was the most financially successful boxing match in history. And while still actively competing, he became a senator in the Philippines. Manny Pacquiao lived several extraordinary lives simultaneously. Sugar Ray Leonard was the complete package at a time when boxing desperately needed one. 1976 Olympic gold medal, one of the most technically gifted welterweights in history. But what elevated Leonard was his ability to rise to the biggest moments. His rivalries with Roberto Duran, Thomas Hearns, and Marvin Hagler produced fights still studied and debated today. His middleweight fight against Marvin Hagler in 1987, after 2.5 years of retirement, one of the most controversial and compelling performances in the sport's history. Most people at ringside thought Hagler won. The judges gave it to Leonard. That argument never really ended. And that kind of fight, that kind of moment, is exactly what separates good fighters from legends. Marvin Hagler was one of the most feared middleweights who ever lived. Undisputed middleweight champion for 7 years straight. 12 consecutive title defenses. He was a southpaw who could switch to orthodox mid-fight, a devastating puncher who was also technically precise, a warrior with the kind of chin that simply did not go down. His rivalry with Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns, and Roberto Duran, known collectively as the Four Kings of Boxing, produced some of the greatest fights the sport has ever seen. His first-round war with Thomas Hearns in 1985 is considered by many historians as the greatest round in boxing history. 3 minutes of pure violence between two all-time greats giving everything they had. Hagler was so dominant and so feared for so long that when Leonard finally beat him in 1987, Hagler retired rather than give him a rematch. He knew what he was, and the sport knew it too. Thomas Hearns the Hitman was one of the most naturally gifted offensive fighters the sport has ever produced. 4-division world champion. A right hand so powerful that opponents who got hit clean rarely recovered from it. His first fight with Sugar Ray Leonard in 1981 is considered one of the greatest welterweight fights in history. Hearns was dominating ahead on every scorecard until Leonard stopped him in the 14th round in one of the most dramatic finishes the sport has ever seen. His 3-fight rivalry with Marvin Hagler produced moments that boxing fans still talk about decades later. What made Hearns special was his combination of size, speed, and power at multiple weight classes. He fought at welterweight, junior middleweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, and cruiserweight, finding world-class success at every stop. The Hitman belongs in every serious conversation about the greatest fighters of all time. Top 3. These don't just belong on this list. They are the list. There has never been a heavyweight who generated the kind of pure fear that Mike Tyson did at his peak. Not before him, not after him. The combination of his physical gifts, his aggression, and trainer Cus D'Amato's peekaboo style created something the sport had genuinely never seen. Between 1985 and 1988, Tyson was essentially unstoppable. Undisputed heavyweight champion of the world at 20 years old, the youngest in history. His fights regularly ended in the first or second round. His opponents sometimes looked defeated before they even touched gloves. The psychological warfare was as much a part of his arsenal as his left hook. His knockout of Michael Spinks, 91 seconds, a fight that had sold out months in advance. Over before most people finished their drinks. Spinks had never been knocked down as a professional. Tyson put him down twice and ended it in under 2 minutes. The personal chaos that followed the legal troubles, the loss to Buster Douglas, the years in prison, all of it is part of the Tyson story. And none of it should be ignored. But the fighter that existed between 1985 and 1988, a once-in-a-generation physical specimen operating at a level of controlled violence that boxing has never replicated. He is also, at 58, still one of the most recognizable athletes on the planet. His cultural footprint extends so far beyond boxing that he exists in a category very few athletes ever reach, where the person becomes bigger than the sport itself. 50-0. Undefeated, undisputed, retired on top. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is the most technically perfect defensive boxer in the history of the sport. That is not a controversial statement among people who understand boxing. The shoulder roll, the check hook, the footwork, the ring intelligence. Mayweather turned not getting hit into an art form. Simultaneously frustrating for casual fans and absolutely beautiful for anyone who understood what they were watching. 5-weight division world champion. He defeated every significant opponent of his era. De La Hoya, Mosley, Cotto, Canelo, Pacquiao, Conor McGregor. Every single one. The Canelo fight at 154 pounds against a naturally bigger, younger, hungry opponent considered one of the greatest technical masterclasses in boxing history. Canelo landed almost nothing meaningful across 12 rounds. But Mayweather's legacy is about more than the fights. He understood his value before the sport or the media did, negotiated his own contracts, promoted his own fights, built his own company, made himself the highest paid athlete in the world multiple times over. The criticism has always been that he was too careful, too defensive, didn't go for the knockout. That criticism misunderstands what he was doing. He was playing chess while everyone else played checkers. And he never lost. Not once in 50 professional fights. There is no list about boxing that ends anywhere else. Muhammad Ali was not the greatest because of the fights he won, though he won extraordinary ones. He was the greatest because of what he represented outside the ring, and what that representation cost him. He won the heavyweight championship at 22, shocking upset over Sonny Liston, then announced his conversion to Islam and his refusal to be drafted into the Vietnam War. The boxing establishment took his title, stripped his license, banned him from the sport for 3.5 years at the peak of his physical prime. He faced prison time, lost millions, did it anyway. His return produced the greatest run of heavyweight championship fights in boxing history. The fight of the century against Frazier. The rumble in the jungle against George Foreman in Zaire, where he invented the rope a dope on the spot against the most feared puncher in the world, and knocked him out. The Thrilla in Manila, where he won on pure will when his body had almost nothing left. But even all of that understates the full picture. Ali was a poet, a provocateur, a political figure, a humanitarian. He lit the Olympic torch in Atlanta in 1996, hands trembling from Parkinson's disease, and reduced an entire stadium to tears. That image is not about boxing. It's about what a human being can mean to the world. Muhammad Ali was the greatest. He said it himself first. And 50 years later, nobody has made a convincing argument that he was wrong. That's our list. 10 boxing legends who didn't just fight, they defined what courage, skill, and greatness look like inside the ropes. Drop a comment. Tell me your pound-for-pound GOAT. Boxing fans never agree, and I wouldn't have it any other way. If you're new here, welcome to Legends Brief. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. I'm Chase, and we'll see you on the next one.